on videoing my cooking skills, my demonstration for my level 3 forest school practitioner. So we're actually on our site today. School's closed for half term, so I can actually get on here. So I'm going to show you how to start a fire first and work our way up. So I've got my flint and steel, and I've got my cotton wool pad. This is a permanent fire site. So I've got my flint and steel. So, first off we're going to start with the kindling. Start putting it on small pieces at a time, just working it in a tripod. So remember, when you're lighting a fire, you've got to think about oxygen and heat, the ignition, air, oxygen and fuel, if you would. So go around. Plenty of the kindling to get it going. It's been very wet. Nice tripod. Making sure the air can still circulate through. I stand up and do mine, but you might be more comfortable kneeling down, but I'm not very steady on my knees, so I tend to stand up and do mine because I'm more steady on my feet. And if you hear the wood that you've got on, usually starts to crackle, which tells you that it's igniting. And then just go around, filling all the gaps. Watch the wind as well, the wind direction when you're lighting a fire. Never light a fire in high winds. Make sure that the trees, you're not lighting a fire under low trees. Make sure that there's no tree branches that could potentially fall on you. Definitely don't light a fire in high wind. And also make sure that you're lighting a fire not on peaty ground if it's a temporary one. Because if it's peat, it'll just catch fire and then you'll cause a disaster. So get this kindling on. Go nicely now. You can usually tell as well with the smoke. It should be white. It should never be black. And then we'll build up with our bigger log. Just let that get going, which is going now. Got all the kindling alight. It's a nice day day for it as well today because it's quite foggy, so all the snow's gone now, thankfully. School's on half term, so I can actually get here and do a fire. Even though we're in lockdown. So you can start with the bigger bits. I tend to start with like stuff that I've already split. This is like pine, and pine's amazing because you've got the wood, you've got the bark, and you've got the pine cones. Pine cones are really good fire starters as well if you haven't got cotton wool. But they have to be super dry, and mine weren't dry enough to get a fire going, that's why I've used cotton wool. But pine's really good because the calorific value of the wood burns really super quickly, so it's really good to sort of get your fire going. So now we're building with bigger split bits and just keeping them in that tripod going around. Really carefully making sure that of the wind and where the flames are going. So I'm just waiting for the wind to change, that's better. Before I put the log there, because you don't want anybody getting burned. When the children are around the fire, you know, make sure that they've got long hair, make sure it's tied up. Any loose scarves and hats and things like that need to be out of the way. They do tend to jiffle, they get really excited when the fire's on, which is great, they have an excitement, but they've got to remember that they've got to keep safe as well, which is the most important thing. We've got buckets of water here as well to put out the fire afterwards. See, it's getting really going. It is quite tall, you want to try and not get the fire above your knee, the flames. We just need to wait for it to sort of die down a bit before we add some more. We don't want the flames to get too tall. What we're cooking on the embers, we're not cooking on flame, we're cooking on the hot embers. So we'll wait for it to die down a bit and we can put some more on. Like the bigger bits along the side now are catching fire, and as it burns, as the tripod of your Kindle burns, it'll sort of collapse up on itself, and then the big bit should fall inside as well as you build it up. I've got bricks around mine as well because I like the bricks keep the heat in, and it's good strength obviously to put your pans and your griddle on because it's sturdy. You've still got the air obviously going through, that's the key thing, air. Wait for that to go a bit more and put another one on. Take that. Nice and warm there. You can see this is pine wood here, and sometimes you can break this bark off, which is a really good fire starter as well. So I'm just putting another brick on, another piece of wood on. And then what we're going to do now is I'm going to bring a student in to demonstrate safe sitting. So, I'm going to move my So with safe sitting, in this site, what we do, I have a blackboard that says circle of safety, and then the children know that there's fire going to be lit or it is already lit if they can't see it. So they know, and we have a combed area around the fire as well, so if the children are playing on the playing field, they know to not enter the circle of the actual cones that we've got, so that they're used to it. If been none. So when you bring a child in, so you can demonstrate models. So you would say, I tend to say to them, we've got exits, we've got safety exits here, emergency exits, and here, and we have got one back here as well, along the bench. Now they enter, and they can enter or exit for an emergency on there, but they know never to come inside this circle, which is the wood logs, which are around about a metre and a half away from the actual fire. There's a brick ring around the fire as well, so they know the edge where they are. So that these are all wedged in, so they're not rockable, they're not movable. So if we bring a student in now to show us safe sitting, so this goes round here. Right. We step over and then we sit down. And then she doesn't leave that area. If she wants to leave that area, she steps back over and then does what she's got to do. She never ever, or any children, cross the circle. The only people that are allowed inside the circle is myself, and the children know that. We've got a group of young rangers as well, which we've been training up for the past 3 years. And if I've got young rangers in the class that I'm teaching at the time, they're super hot on safety. So are the other children, but because it's really been drilled in them since for 3 years, they sort of keep an eye on the other children as well. So they're like training the children as well as myself. So we've just got to wait for this to die down a little bit before I'll put the griddle on.
And how many adults would you say that needs to be around the fire?
Usually we have a class of about in between 20 and 24, sometimes it's about 18, 19, and I always have a 1 to 6 ratio, maybe a 1 to 5 ratio if we've got children with SEND problems. They usually have their own TA that comes in with their own adult anyway. So we could have up to 4, maybe 6 adults round the fire, me in the centre, no other adult comes into the centre, so then there's no confusion. It might be wrong, but that's what we do here. Nobody comes into the circle unless it's an emergency. Nobody else puts any wood on the fire apart from myself. And all the other adults either sit on the logs or tend to sit or stand behind the logs with the children, so they can go around the outside of the circle if the children need any help with anything or need any help stepping over, like the little children, because their dexterity is obviously the little balancing on one leg and stepping over can be a little bit tricky. So we've got lots of adults there to help them. So I need my poker. Just to poke that on. We've got some lovely embers going in there now. Hot, hot, hot. And then we'll be soon ready for putting the pan on for boiling water. So our menu. Now when we do cook with the children, yes it is nice to do marshmallows and little sausages and things, but because we grow our own vegetables here as well, we've got our own little vegetable garden, well quite a big vegetable garden that we've been running for the past 3 years. Whatever we grow, we do tend to try and cook something on here using them, because the children who probably won't eat vegetables in the school's dinner hall will 99.9% of the time eat the vegetables on here. I don't know if it's got something because they've grown it, they've seen it grow, they've looked after it, they've cooked it on here, and it could be something as like a little risotto or an omelette with vegetables in, or like what I'm doing today, I'm doing just some new potatoes and broccoli with some herb butter and some salmon. As long as it's got lots of flavour in it, you know, I've never had anybody say, I don't like that mess. They try it, they'll say, oh yeah, they like it, they might not have it, they might have it again. But I do tend to try and do healthy things, but try and also do nice things like marshmallows and things. I do marshmallows, but that's not all we do. We do proper cooking as well. Bread as well is a good one.
Do you need my help?
I'm alright at the moment, Dean. I'm just trying to making sure this is super hot to get this boiling water off. Just putting some more kindling on. Oh, this is a trip hazard. I don't want to trip over this once I'm cooking. Just putting some more on the outside. Should we pause it so the fire gets going a bit more and then